Greetings. Today we'll be doing something a little bit different. We're going to go over the recent changes in Beta 74 with Twilight, and then just do a little bit of background testing as well on those changes. Let's go ahead and jump right into it.
So, I don't know, I guess the big change would be the LLTs getting better range. Let's see.
So they have, what, 800?
Yeah, they've got 800 range now. It's the same as the heavy laser towers. Before they had 500, which is pretty good range. But, 800 is more. The idea was just that for light laser towers, there's, in theory, they're kind of your most basic, standard, inexpensive unit for defense. And yet, we weren't seeing them used a lot. I mean, they were used some, but it was more like, occasionally you'd use a few here and there. But that's not what you'd expect from a basic, standard defensive unit. So, I was trying to look at what we could do with them, and decided to put the range up to 800, which is the same as the heavy laser tower, and that's kind of a big jump. I gave them a correspondingly lower damage rate. So the range went up 500 to 800. They lost the same proportional amount of damage. Yeah, it used to be 126 damage a shot every 0.52 seconds. Now it's 81 damage a shot every 0.52 seconds. So range is better, reload is the same, damage went down. Because if I made their damage, if the range went up and the damage stayed the same, we'd need to compensate somewhere else. You know, increase the cost, lower the armor, something like that. Or increase the reload, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but I realized that, yeah, this makes them a much better defensive unit. So the difference between the HLT and the LLT is less that one shoots further and one shoots closer. It's instead that they both shoot about the same range, but one hits a lot harder.
Did you raise the HLT's damage too?
Yes, I did. So metal cost went from 405, or no, sorry, 294 to 405. So about a 50% increase. Well, no, less than 50%.
That's, yeah, a little less than 50, huh?
37%. That's what the calculator says. So I did that, and I bumped up their armor, 588 to 810. So the armor went up a bit, but I also, the reload is the same, but they hit harder now. They went from hitting 629 a hit to 866. So there's, I mean, 629 is pretty hard hitting anyway, but 866 is enough that, for comparison, a Peewee's got like, 150 to 180, somewhere in there. A flash tank's got just under 1,000. So at 866 damage, the heavy laser tower won't kill a flash in one hit, but once they get to 15 kills with vet status, they will start one-shotting flash tanks.
Oh, that's nice.
And once they get to 25 kills, they'll start one-shotting instigators. So Cord doesn't get left out of the fun.
The Veterancy has different levels like that?
Yes.
I didn't actually know that.
I believe it's every 5 levels. So I don't know the exact amount, I'm sure someone's done the math somewhere, but every 5 levels it goes up more. So at 5 kills you have a certain amount of vet bonuses. At 10 you get more, at 15 you get more, and it maxes out at 25.
Okay. I was going to say, does it keep going? It's like, no wonder buzzsaws and Vulcans work so well.
But, yeah, and vet status gives you a variety of changes. It increases the damage per shot. It decreases the reload time. So they're firing faster, they hit harder when they do hit. Their accuracy goes up, so they're better at, like, leading shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a guy's moving faster, better at, like, shooting ahead and leading. And they also take less damage. So they effectively have more armor.
Oh, I didn't know it had all that.
Yeah, it's actually a really good deal. It's just, you have to have units stick around long enough to do it. Like, you don't see a lot of AKs or Peewees that get vet status.
Probably not.
It can happen. It just doesn't usually happen.
They're the cannon fodder. I want veteran fleas.
possible,
No, I mean,
but
I mean,
yeah.
I know. I mean, it's not
You do
shot.
see it on like you should see it more on LLTs now.
Yeah.
Because before they hit hard, but the problem was, this is part of the reason I increased the range on them, is that they hit really hard. I mean, they actually did more damage for their metal cost than an HLT would. But the problem was, is their range is 500, so some things outranged them, but you know, like artillery, and that's okay. But a lot of the things like berserkers and warriors who had just a little bit less range. So basically, there was a narrow gap where the LLT could be firing and the warrior and berserker wouldn't be firing, but it was like 1 or 2 shots maybe.
So they just get up and pop it.
Yeah, and then they immediately blow it away. So
You pretty much need Dragon's Teeth around the LLT for it to perform decently well.
yeah, no, I mean,
Or lots of them.
don't misunderstand. Dragon's Teeth are always, well, I shouldn't say always. Most of the time, I think they're a pretty solid investment. But however, in this case, it was something where like if you almost never wanted to just scatter a few around because I guess it depends. Like maybe if you had like a few fleas coming in or something, or if you had like a couple of flash tanks. But even then, they'd close range quickly because of the speed of the tanks, and they just turn apart because light and heavy laser towers. I give them. I take the baseline damage and armor, and I have their armor, and I double their firepower. So they hit a lot harder than you'd expect for their cost, but they also go down a lot faster, as compared to like the Radical, blocker, medium plasma cannons, or the Guardian, the Punisher, things like that. And there's a place for both. Sometimes you want to hit hard. You're hoping to kill them off before they get to you, which is kind of the idea here. But LLTs were not doing a very good job of that because most things were hitting them very quickly after they were fired upon, and so they just didn't last. Unless you had Dragon's Teeth, but that's another problem, is a light laser tower is around 80 metal, and to surround it with 8 Dragon's Teeth at 10 metal apiece, it's another 80 metal, so you're basically doubling your cost, which it's not a bad investment, but the problem is a single LLT is also not going to, I mean, suppose you have a big swarm of like Peewees come by, they won't be able to kill it, but they can just ignore it and keep going.
Yeah.
So, or you have like a rocket come up and blow it up anyway, and
Doesn't take much through the Dragon's Teeth.
which reminds me, that's another change I made in this, is we switched from 600 range to, oh boy, I can't remember, 400 something range.
With the Rockos and the Storms?
Rockos and the Storms.
I have it up here somewhere. Yeah, 465.
Okay, yeah, and that's what they'd been at previously. We bumped them up a bit to make them a little better at engaging defenses, but they're actually a little too good. I mean, they could blow up light laser towers without even taking damage. Artillery could already do that. Rockos and Storms were getting to be pretty nasty, even just against other K-bots. They were, I think they might have been a little underutilized before, but they were definitely becoming really, really good. So I wanted to ease that off a bit. And of course, with cutting the range a bit, I upped the damage correspondingly. So. But yes, with the longer range on the LTs, now you're not hitting as hard, but you're still hitting hard enough, and you can do things where you can spread out a handful of LLTs over an area. Like, okay, I'm going to spread like 3 or 4 or 5 over like this screen and a half area. And you'll have the area covered. Not really well, it'll be lightly covered, but it means that nobody's going to like sneak in like a couple of fleas past you. No one's going to zoom like a flash tank through.
Yeah.
If they send a larger group, they're going to take it out. And that's the thing. I worry they might be a little too strong. We still have to do more testing, but I feel like they can take it out pretty easily. It just means with more range you can cover a larger area, which makes them more worth using. Before it was like, I can cover a smaller area and hit a little harder, but then they're going to take return fire and get killed anyway. So I might as well just jump to something that covers a bigger range, like the HLT. And that also hits harder anyway, so why not? I mean, it's more expensive, but you'd rather just put a couple of those up and cover a larger area. They couldn't hit as rapidly, but I don't know. It didn't seem to matter as much as you'd think. So now you can have a scattering of LLTs, and even without Dragon's Teeth, and have at least light control of an area. If you put more of them, you can have a heavier control. And light laser towers and the Armored Core light laser towers, got that range increase. The core HLLT, the heavy light laser tower, uses the same core light laser tower weapon. It just has 3 of them. So it also got that range boost. And that's actually a nice...
kind of boost for them.
Yeah, because what if you want something that's a little more robust? Well, instead of putting up 3 LLTs, you could put up 1 HLLT, 1 heavy light laser tower from the core. And, I mean, you don't cover quite as much area, but because it's just one of them. But you've got 3 different weapons. You can fire 3 different ways independently. They've also got more armor in one chunk, and so if a couple of stray shots go their way, they don't blow up, whereas LLTs, they probably would. They're not super tough, but they can take a little bit more. Or if you're just wanting to upgrade and just get some heavy rated stuff, they're 300-ish metal. It's a nicer jump up from the 80 metal for light laser towers. Of course, then HLTs, heavy laser towers, are around, what do we say, 405 now, so an even bigger jump up. But as we discussed, those hit really hard. On the other hand, they fire kind of slowly. It's about almost 1.2 seconds per shot, which isn't bad. I mean, especially if you're like one-shotting like flash tanks and stuff like we discussed. But if someone sends in a group of like 30 Peewees and you have 1 or 2 HLTs, you're actually going to get overrun and destroyed.
I think I like that. Because before HLTs seemed to do a lot of work. Now they have that more single damage rule.
Yeah.
Or single target damage, I mean.
Yeah, it was a few versions ago when we switched it. They used to be 0.7-ish reload, I think. Now it's 1.1, 1.2-ish. And yeah, you're right, at 0.7, they hit really hard. They had better range. But they also fired fast enough that, yeah, it wasn't as good as having several light laser towers. But it was good enough. They'd still take out a
smaller group of K-bots at the very least, if it had good line of sight.
Yeah, they were pretty good at engaging a decent-sized group with a lot of numbers. They could also hit heavier stuff. Oh, and they also had range. So, I mean, what's not to like? So now, at least with the light laser towers having better range, at least if you just need to, because suppose you just want to cover an area, you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can just, or metal, I should say. You can just throw a couple of LLTs down, 160 metal. I mean, that's like, what, a flash and a half, or maybe, like you said, scattering of K-bots. And you've got, like I said, a little bit of coverage over that area. It's not a lot, but it'll stop light stuff, light scouting, and medium stuff, it'll chew up a bit before they get through. Heavy stuff, they'll blow it up, but you'll at least get some warning, and it'll slow them down because they might not be sure how many other units are out, or how many other LLTs are out there. So yeah, the HLT ends up being more in a heavier direct damage. It's a heavy laser tower. It's designed to engage heavy targets. Can you use it to blow up fleas? Sure, but it's not an effective use of your energy or your metal. It's better than nothing, but yeah. In fact, that's one of the advantages of fleas, is being able to build a ton of them and swarm them over something, because as you're losing fleas, you're losing 9 metal per flea, so why not? Yeah,
preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, I know. Definitely a flea lover. But, yeah, because light K-bots are good for that anyway. Like, the core AK and the ARM Peewee, they're already cheap and light, and at least for K-bots, relatively fast. So they're nice to use in numbers to swarm. But ARM has that extra step where they can go up down to the flea, because you can get 3 fleas for the price of a Peewee. So I might have, 30 AKs and you've got like 90 fleas. It's great for swarming, even if they're not doing the damage themselves, if they're just drawing fire and breaking through, and it kind of panics the enemy. And then you can mix in some heavier units, or even just some not quite so light units, and they can do the rest of the work. So
yeah, they created a great wall. That's even if they're not doing damage, they're a pretty nice wall. They're quick and numerous.
They're also a little panic-inducing on radar, at least for me. Sometimes I glance like, what is that? I hope that's fleas. And sometimes it's not fleas, which is even more panic-inducing. But it's just a little stressful to see this big swarm of dots.
50 dots.
Like, I hope that's fleas, and I hope it's only fleas. I hope there's other stuff mixed in there. And yeah, fleas are a nice unit.
I used to try to use those to flank, so I'd send like large group of fleas on one end and then just a smaller heavy group on the other, hoping it'd draw fire. But I feel like people just know that I use fleas too much anymore.
But Yeah, and that's something else you can do because they're so cheap. Is you can spread them out in more directions, more areas at once. Because having 3 or 4 fleas in your base isn't game ending, but it's annoying and it's hard because you're like, I need to chase those down, but there's 3 fleas here and 5 fleas here and 4 fleas here, and it's just hard to deal with them all, especially if you're going to walk your commander around. Which, by the way, is another great reason to have an LLT in your base now, because at least you can cover a good chunk of your screen, which at the beginning is probably your whole base.
Yeah.
Again, against light stuff. If they send heavier stuff or a whole bunch of fleas, you're going to be in trouble. Oh, but that brings us to the beamer. Previously, it just fired really fast. The reload was 0.15, because I guess the idea was it's supposed to be like a solid beam because it's firing so quickly. But I don't know. It was okay. Before it had better range. The light laser tower and the HLLT had 500 range. The beamer had 675. So that was, it couldn't shoot multiple directions like the HLLT, but it did, at least it had more range. Well, now with the LLT going up to 800, I was trying to figure out what to do with the beamer because, so it has, if I can give it 800 range, but then what? It's like the HLT, but different? So I ended up giving it the no explode tag, which lets it roll through, kind of like a D gun does. It can roll through and hit multiple targets. It might still need some adjustment, but in my tests, it performed roughly comparable to the HLLT against like groups of Peewees and AKs and stuff. If there were multiple units lined up, so it could get multiple hits in one shot, then it did better than the HLLT somewhat. If there weren't, it tended to do a little bit worse, but it was still on average about the same.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, because it rolls through stuff, it would be more effective on bigger units, because if it's a big enough unit, it could roll through and hit them multiple times going through. But for most of your smaller stuff, like flash tanks, stumpies, Peewees, it's probably just going to hit once.
They're best when you're engaging them head on, that's for sure now. I've seen like things go sideways to them, and you don't really get much with the rolling. So that's kind of nice. Because the whole laser will just miss.
They're not without, drawbacks, but I was trying to give them something that was effective, but also the difference. Because we already had, the light laser tower and heavy laser tower in a somewhat similar space. They have the same range, but one hits lighter and faster, the other one hits slower, more powerfully. So what did the beamer have? Nothing really until we gave it this. So hopefully this gives it a bit of a fun, different feel, and it's definitely good for swarms because it just rolls through and hits a bunch of them. Fleas probably won't like it.
You're probably right. I don't think it's a good, or it is a good flea deterrent rather.
Well, let's say 3. And then in my tests, I was putting twice the metal cost of the LLTs in their attacking units. And they were doing pretty well, which is good because you want the defense to be able to, destroy more than its cost. Otherwise, what's the point? Especially because mobile units can move and defenses can't. So you better destroy more than their cost. So if you're doing 3, it's 243 metal divided by. Okay, so that would be 9 Peewees. So basically, it's 3 Peewees for a light laser tower. Interesting,
Huh. This is twice the metal cost of Peewees?
Oh no, this is the same. Actually.
Same metal cost.
I meant to do twice, but
well, you almost got one.
But
could have had one. Yeah, you definitely did enough damage to kill one. They just were firing everywhere.
Okay, here we go.
All right, this is twice the metal. Yeah, so I mean, they're definitely not invincible. Took out a good number of Peewees, but they definitely fell in the end.
But no dragon's teeth or anything either.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. That's something else nice about their range is, it lends them more to being used with mines.
Oh yeah.
Because you can have light laser tower line and then put some mines out in front of it. You could do that before, but the problem was is by the time you put it out, the mines far enough how they were going to blow up your own LLTs, you were almost out of LLT range, and so it wasn't great. But now you could definitely, you know, put a line of LLTs, put some mines a little bit further out, and then they're running into mines blowing up as they're getting shot. It should be a really deadly combination.
I'm gonna have to try that. That's not too bad of an idea. Beamer is 294.
Okay, so it's about 11 Peewees. Alright, so we'll run them in. Oh, we're still on super fast mode. Okay,
Oh, whoops.
we're good.
Going sideways is the Beamer's
You can see it kind of rolling through. Yeah, look at that.
Once they got up close, it kind of struggles, I think, far because the laser. But
Here, put a new one up. We'll try double the cost again.
I wonder if manually targeting them is. I wonder how that. If that'd be more effective, because you could.
Probably.
Oh, yeah, that big old line of them.
Is that manual?
Nope.
That was not manual?
No.
Oh, wow. That's really impressive then. But yeah, you can see. I mean, they're not always going to be lined up. I kind of spawned them in rows, but you're still going to see them kind of bunch up like that to some degree. So.
Yeah. Do they heal? They do.
What's that?
They regenerate?
Yep. So do LLTs and HLLT.
Huh. I guess they just don't live long enough usually.
Yeah.
Mine don't. It's once they start taking fire, I'm usually in trouble and they're dead.
So it's powerful to be able to hit. I mean, because theoretically you could hit like 8-9 guys in one shot if it was really lined up well. I'm hoping it'll balance out because sometimes, a lot of the time it's going to be just like 2 or 3 guys, and sometimes it'll just be one guy only. In which case, it'll probably be coming out a little bit behind. But even with a single guy, it's still pretty good. My guys are going to spread out a bit, which normally with the old range would have been a problem, but here it's not going to matter much. Or at least it shouldn't.
That's actually really nice. Especially for just lighter K-bots.
Yeah, so
makes quick work.
Put up another one, we'll send in double the amount.
For heavier things, I guess it depends, but if there's not a lot, I guess it would focus all 3 lasers on one as well. Maybe.
Yeah, it generally does, which is nice, so that if you're just fighting single heavier things, you don't lose out because you're just firing all 3 weapons on a single target.
Yeah. I just realized the model on the HLLT only has 2 turrets.
No, it's got 3.
Does it?
Oh, you mean the picture?
The picture, yeah, the picture. Okay, it almost lost that one.
He got chewed up. Yeah, he was about half, 2/3 down, but that was twice his metal cost, the Peewees. So they're a nice unit.
Yeah.
You'll notice how when we sent the double metal cost against the 3 LLTs, they didn't survive.
They got taken out quickly, yeah.
If they were a little closer to each other, they might have done better, but here, definitely still had some armor left, so.
The HLT packs a pretty mean punch now.
Yes, it does. Have you tried it?
I mean, I've tried it like this. I've built them, but I haven't really been able to pay attention to them in actual battle. Oh, the other one's off.
Okay. Now look at that. And that was only its metal cost, not double. So it's hitting them hard, but the thing is the Peewees have got
it's
I don't know,
using too much.
Yeah, it's 160 damage, and it's hitting them for 800. So it's wasting 80% of its damage per shot.
I tried it earlier on a Stumpy, and I think it kills them in 3 hits now.
Yeah, so now we'll try some flashes. You want to turn on the other one you've got?
Yep.
And its cost, it would just be 4 of them. 4 flashes about. I mean, they've got good speed, so they can definitely close the distance quickly, which will help. Oh, he's missing a bit, though. gonna get him killed.
Yeah, yeah.
If he hadn't missed though, and you notice how he hit him and they almost are dead. Now here's something else. Put up another HLT.
They're not glowing anymore, so it worked out.
You should notice better accuracy.
Oh, yeah.
Not bad, right? And is it a 10 now?
Yep.
Okay, this time I'm going to send twice the metal cost in on flashes. You'll definitely notice it's shooting faster, and it should be one-shotting them as well.
Oh, yeah. Barely survived. But it survived.
Yeah, it got a little weird on... It missed a couple of shots, but I think that might have been lag or something. But, yeah, see, twice the metal cost, and it still made it.
And, I mean, if you have a veteran status HLT, you should probably protect it. Get some dragon's teeth or something.
Well, and you saw how much faster it was firing, too, right?
Yeah. Let's do this.
Yeah, if you put another one next to it, so, yeah. And then tell them both to fire. What?
Oh, yeah. That's a lot faster.
Yeah. So it's firing faster, which raises the damage per second. It's also hitting harder for each shot, which raises the damage per second. And it aims better, and it takes less damage. One of the things you really notice the better accuracy on, I mean, you kind of saw it here, but have you ever had like Vipers or Pit Bulls shooting like a Jeffy or something at extreme range, like zipping across sideways, and they just cannot hit it? You saw the HLT missing like a couple shots on those flashes because they're moving pretty fast, and it feels kind of bad until you realize even once you get 5 kills, it's going to do a whole lot better.
Yeah.
It usually won't miss after that, and then once you get 10 or 15, you're almost guaranteed not to miss.
Can you kill your own stuff? Kill your own stuff?
I don't. You can't. I don't know if you can kill allies or not, though. Your own stuff does not count.
No. No. That's good.
However, this is something to consider, Mr. Flea Lover. If you send in huge swarms of fleas that are dying by the dozens, and you don't take out his defenses, you know what you've just done.
I made it harder, but, you know, that's why the next time I come in with fleas and hammers. I'm
just saying, you've made it so that they've given them free target practice, and now they're going to be a lot harder to kill after that. So that's one downside to just swarming stuff. If you swarm them and take them out, great. But if you don't, they're going to be potentially more difficult to kill. Well, here, even put up an LLT. As they get killed, you should start seeing a difference in how fast it's firing. Is it getting the kills?
Yep. Just reached 5. 10. Oh yeah, it definitely picked up 5 to 10 there.
You tell it's speeding up, right?
Yep.
I'm building some more. So even LLTs, it makes a big difference.
It's hard to keep LLTs though.
So actually, here, turn off the one that's not turn off the one that's a vet. I'm gonna hold fire for a second. Okay, so this is the non-vet, right?
Yep.
And maybe you'll hit it. I don't know. We'll see.
No, it's awful. If that was coming around my base, I'd be...
A little closer. See, it's just way behind, lagging. It's just not doing it. I mean, obviously this is straight sideways. It's a fast unit, but...
Yeah, I mean...
Now, what's the highest you can go for the vet one?
32.
And he should hit it.
Oh, yeah. He's dead.
Not even a problem. Move a little bit closer. Even on the turns, he's just not hitting it. Okay? And he might miss, because fighters are fast.
He definitely hit.
Nope.
I didn't realize they got that big of a boost from vet status.
See, even if you're trying to come in at a weird angle, I mean, it's possible, but... I mean, he didn't hit the first shot, but... After that, I wonder if you could do it with a peeper. Or even faster.
Oh, yeah. Barely. He missed a couple shots first, but...
So, that's just something to keep in mind. Oh, just straight at it? The vet one? Okay.
Yeah. I'm curious to...
He didn't even get to fire. They're fast enough that they can close the distance quickly, so even with that extra range, they don't get that many more hits in. And plus, they've got enough armor they can shrug off a few hits. So, I'm going to come in and attack now.
Kill each other.
Okay, mutually assured destruction. But
That's...
if he was moving sideways past him, he probably would have strafed him, killed him, and not died in return.
Yeah.
But what I think you'll find more useful now is, like when you have 3 of them spread out instead of 3 of them together, you can cover a larger area. And plus, what happens is, from the Flash's point of view, I mean, we've got line of sight on here, but from the Flash's point of view, they're getting hit from 3 different light laser towers from 3 different directions, off screen, out of their line of sight. They don't know where it's coming from. And that's really difficult to engage. Do I go to the left? Do I go to the right? Do I try to split my group? What do I do? Or do I just push on through and hope I can get through in time? And you probably can get through, but you're going to take some damage. And you probably can't clear them all out, but you're going to take even more damage. Well, the thing is, though, is even as they were, I mean, they weren't that dangerous, but the area is kind of controlled by you. I'm not in big danger, but I am in danger, and I can't just let my guys, take a nap here. They're going to be under fire. So I either have to pull back or push through or try to find your guys, but it's not a safe area.
Yeah, and when they're spread out like that, it's, at least for me, it's just, do I move forward? Because like you have, it's not like you're running up to a line of them and you get to just murder everything. You've got to find them, and if you don't have LOS, in fact, what would I do? Control 1?
It takes me a little bit to turn around and
yeah.
It took me around a little while to turn around, and then I'm like, oh shoot, there's still one more. Okay, I gotta chase him down. And I'm probably, and see, I don't even make it. And that was what, 3 of them versus 4 flash tanks?
Yeah.
Versus 1-on-1 where I was able to do it. So, and I had full line of sight, so I knew where they were. If you can't see, I can see generally which direction it's coming from, but I had a time where I attacked Seton and he had, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 of them scattered in a half circle in various areas, and I was just coming under this withering fire from 180 degrees. It was really hard to deal with. I punched through and I killed most of them, but I lost almost my entire tank group doing it.
Almost like a Battle of the Bulge type deal.
Yeah. So
you walk into just a trap. How do I can I control it the same units as you so I can look at your LOS? Or not in...
yeah, just do control... Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Did that work?
Yeah, I tried it before and it didn't do it. What? I don't see anything now. Control 2?
Have you been spawning stuff with 1 or 0?
I left it blank.
Which defaults to 0 then. Okay.
I can do it, but it's the everything went great. I can see your units. I can't see mine. Move the flashes a little bit. Okay, I mean I can still see. I just isn't bright. I can't see the. I wonder if I just dither. No.
I just put up a radar tower near my guy. So.
I wonder if I do. How are you spawning units in? With 1 or 2?
I'm doing it with 0 because for me, I'm player 0.
Ah.
and your player won. But for you, it's the opposite. So.
I think I crashed. Yeah. Well.
Oh, did you do it as a side that wasn't?
I did.
Yeah, if you do a side that doesn't exist, then bad things happen.
Well.
Yep, your LTs aren't even firing. Well, we covered most of it.
Yeah, I mean, the other things were that I'm looking at description stuff for like the Fidos. Looks like you changed a lot of descriptions.
Oh, we could have demonstrated the. Yeah, I was just trying to add in. I realized that some people didn't know that radar gives you line of sight, and jammers give you line of sight. And so they're like, oh, the defenses shoot from so far away. How can I kill anything? It's like, you just build a radar tower. I'm like, why? Because I just realized that I take it for granted, but it does, if you don't know it, I better put it in the description. So I just added a bunch of things in there saying like, hey, enhances line of sight as well as radar. So you can build them, turn off the radar so you're not draining energy, but it still lets you spot for it. Which, by the way, is more important now that the LLTs have more range, because right now they have a line of sight range of 500, which is the same as their old range. But now they have 800, so they won't be able to see as far as they can shoot. But if you put up a radar a little bit behind them, they'll be able to shoot out to the full range and a little bit past. So.
Okay.
We did make that change to make the Vindicator and the Condor a little easier to unload and stuff. I increased it to, I don't remember, like 150 maybe?
Yeah,
on that weapon.
It says 150.
Okay. So I did it higher and it wasn't as good, because if you put it too high, like when I put it at 300, they'll drop off sooner, but then they're dropping off not where you targeted, but from the edge, 300 away from it, because it has that much range. And you don't want something where I want to drop off here behind the dragon's teeth and then they drop off in front, that kind of stuff. But 150 was a good middle ground where they don't slow down. They still slow down a little bit, but not nearly as much, because they don't have to, because it's a bigger range. I've even seen it before where you can kind of, if you're micromanaging, you can make them drop off faster by, instead of telling them to drop off, you can just tell them to run in a straight line, and then when you get to the right spot, just tell them to attack like 3 inches in front of them as they're flying, and they'll just quickly drop it off. Except if you didn't line up quite right with the old weapon range, they would fly by, do a big U-turn, slowly come back around, and then drop it off there. Because the range is so small. Now that it's 150, you could miss it, but you'd have to be a lot sloppier. So they're just better at doing that, but they're also better if you tell them to drop off just by attacking a spot. They're better at zooming up and not slowing down very much before they drop them off. Because a lot of times when you're dropping them off, it's not under friendly conditions. At least I've used them.
So they kind of work more like the AMAT was in that regard. Like they can do more flybys than rather like slowing down, stopping.
Yeah, they don't have to slow. Yeah, it's not dramatically different than it was before, but it's a little nicer, because a lot of times you are doing kind of like I said, a hot drop off where like I'm only going to live about 5 seconds, so I need to drop these guys off in the next 3 seconds. So.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, like on update changes or like a deeper look into certain units or strategies, please let me know and we can definitely get more of that. But that's all we have for today, and we'll see you next time.